this is a oral history project for because I go to Front Range Community College, and um, I like to interview about your experience about September 11th, 2001. And to start it off, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to meet me this afternoon, since it's 1 o'clock your time.
Yep.
And and I was wondering if you were ready to get started.
I am ready.
First of all, if you can tell me your name and what you do now, and where were you the morning of September 11th, 2001?
Okay, so my name is Surrie Berkowitz. I am presently working for Major League Baseball Network in New Jersey. And on the morning of 9/11, 2001, I was working at CBS, Columbia Station in New York. It was a very shocking morning. It was a very, very shocking morning. If I recall, I'm not exactly sure on the timing, but it was about 8:30 in the morning, 8:40 in the morning, something about that. All of a sudden our screens went crazy, and I got a call from a coworker that a bomb went off in the building at the World Trade Centers where we have our antennas. And we're like, oh my God. So I went running to the news director in the edit rooms. I guess he was handling all the news. And I told him that I was told by our coworker who was up in the World Trade Center at the time that a bomb had gone off. And he said to me, no, it wasn't a bomb, that a plane hit the building. So I came back, and at that moment, I should say, let me go back a moment. Once our screens on air went bad, we needed to switch over to our alternate antennas. We had all the networks had their antennas up at the top of the World Trade Center. CBS was one of the few that never took down its own antennas from the Empire State Building. So as soon as we saw our screens go crazy, we had no clue what was going on until I got that phone call. Then we switched over to the Empire State transmitter. Then I went to, I did my run. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. I did my run. And then I came back, and about when we saw the second tower get hit, we were watching it. I was in the control room watching it as they got hit. And maybe about 20 minutes later, my coworker called me. Maybe a half hour later, my coworker called me and said, he can't get out of the building. He says, I don't know what to do. I can't get out. So I said to him, obviously, like, do whatever you can, call down to security, because security left the building because they knew what was going on. He had no clue what was going on. Security left the building, and they did not release the doors for the transmitter people. So he said to me, I can't get out. I don't know how to get out. And I said to him, well, do whatever you can. Try, go up to sit outside on the towers, the transmitter, so that maybe you can, CBS has, once they've opened airspace around the towers, CBS had a helicopter on standby to get as many of those guys off the tower. Unfortunately, they were not able to make it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway, yeah, so they were not able to, they did not make the tower. They did not make it out of the tower. And we watched as the second tower fell, as both towers fell, actually, from our alternate at the Empire State Building.
Could you see that, like, from where you were you able to see from, like, outside a window, were you able to see, like, the towers, or just through the TVs?
No, just through the TV. We were too far up north because the World Trade Centers were down like in Battery City, and we're all the way up by 57th. We're in Midtown, they were downtown. It was, well, the truth is I really don't know. Actually, I should say that I never really thought about it. But I never really went outside. I guess if we stood on top of our buildings, we would have been able to see the towers, but I couldn't leave the room. We couldn't leave the room. We had to stay within the room because we were feeding all the networks. None of the networks had TV. None of them had their antennas. All their antennas went down. So they're scrambling, trying to figure out a way to get themselves back on the air, but they're taking our feed. So CBS was giving all the feeds to everybody. So we couldn't leave the room. It was not even an option for us to even go out and look to see what was going on.
Wow, that's really crazy. Like, were you alone in your room, or were you like with a big group of people?
No, I had one other person with me, because we needed to. We were in the process because one of us handled on air, one of us handled the tape operations room. I was on air at the moment when that happened, and she was in the back doing tape, and she came in to be with me, and in case of, we didn't know what to expect. We had no clue what to expect at this point. We just knew that the towers had gone down. We didn't know what was going on. We knew that our news team got up and were running. So we had to transfer everything from local programming to live television. So we needed to be constantly, somebody needed to be constantly on the alert, and you need sometimes two people when you're dealing with that. So it was the two of us.
From my understanding, that since the city was on lockdown, could you go home, or did you have to stay at your work? Were you able to go home and be with your family, or were you just locked into the building?
I came in at about 7 o'clock that morning. It was a Tuesday morning. I came in at 7 o'clock. The towers got hit at 8:40, and I think at 9:06 were the times that the towers got hit. And I did not leave until, I think it was Thursday. I think I left Thursday. Nobody could get into the city. Nobody could get out of the city. My company did supply a hotel room for us, but I was able to run there, take a quick shower, and run back. That was all I was able to do. I wasn't able to catch any sleep. I wasn't able to do anything. So we were on lockdown. People were walking to get out of Manhattan. They weren't letting anybody in.
What was going through your minds when you heard it? Like, just from, because I wasn't alive at the time, and I don't know what that would have been like, but from everybody saying, were you just shocked when you heard that the towers were hit?
Well, like I was saying at the beginning, when my coworker first called me to tell me that a bomb had gone off, what was going through my head at that moment was, he was in the towers in 93 when there was a bomb that did actually go off. And all I remember is that he said, they swore he would never be able to go back. He will never go back up there. And then he went back up there. And when it went off again, I'm like, how could lightning strike one person twice? And I was caught off guard on that, and I was in shock. And then when I found out it wasn't the bomb, it was a plane. And then when so we thought it was an accident. That's what I remember thinking. We thought, wow, how could a plane hit the World Trade Center? Okay, it was an accident. But when the second plane hit the second Trade Center, like, no, this can't be an accident. It's sabotage. It's and then things started coming out that it was intentional, and that, the planes were used as weapons, and we're looking at this place burning. We're looking at the towers burning. I mean, granted, we're seeing it through a TV screen, but it was still shocking, and it's still, it was very graphic. There was a lot of graphic things that I mean, the screens, the TV screens were able to get, unfortunately, a lot of images that were very hard to watch. And, you know, people there were watching and seeing people jumping from the towers. It was shocking. I couldn't believe that this was happening on American soil. It happens outside the country. It doesn't happen in America.
When you were finally out of work, like you said, on Tuesday, from Tuesday to Thursday, did you perhaps go down to Ground Zero?
I did, actually. I did. I went down. I felt I needed to try to do whatever I could do, So obviously I wasn't allowed on Ground Zero. I wasn't allowed to get to the actual site. But what I did was I was there serving food to rescue workers, standing there encouraging them and supporting them and just, you know, cheering them on as they're going down, as they're coming back. Because people were exhausted, people were tired, people were heartbroken. You know, I mean, 2,800 people died that day, and 2 that I knew personally. And the people that were trying to dig out the people, it was just, all you want to do is like, they need the encouragement, they need the support. So I was down there serving food and encouraging and screaming and yelling at the top of my lungs. I didn't get home till Friday afternoon. I stayed down there as long as I was able to stay down there until they kicked us out, and till the next day.
From where you were, was the scenery, was it all covered in white, or like, yeah?
Yeah, there was a haze over the city. Now they call it concrete dust or powder dust, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, there was a whole haze down there. I was probably about, I would think, a mile away from Ground Zero itself, maybe a mile. I think it was like Canal Street to Battery Park. I don't think it was Battery Park. I forgot the name of the street that the towers were on. And I was, I think, a mile or maybe half a mile, and it was shaded gray. It was a complete shade of gray.
Were there, how would you say, like, were there a lot of people down there helping?
Yeah.
Like the medics and like firemen and police officers, were there a lot of them?
Yes, there was a lot of them. Again, I didn't see that many of them. I saw them as they're going in and I saw them as they were coming out, but there were a lot of people that were there. There were medics, there were firefighters, there were police. I actually know of 4 or 5 friends of mine that went down to help with search and rescue. I also actually know of a few of my cousins that were in the towers when just before they went down. And I know of 1 or 2 friends that got caught in the subway, so they never made it up to the towers, and they would have been on the 98th floor.
Oh, wow.
Of the first tower. So she got stuck in the subway, and that's why she did not make it into the tower.
She must have had a very lucky day that day.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. And I was, when I got that call from her, I was, because I was still at work, but I got the call and I was very happy. I was happy to hear.
Yeah, I'd be really happy if I had that same experience, knowing that my friend was okay.
Yeah.
How has your, since 9/11, like, how has 9/11 changed in your life?
Well, it makes you aware of your surroundings, I think. I think you're, you know, for a few years afterward, it's like, you know, it was everything where you have to think about what's around you. You have to constantly look about what's around you. It created in me a mistrust that if I see somebody that looks suspicious, I'm going to report it or be careful because you just never know what they're doing. You never know what somebody's doing. I mean, the fact that 3 or 4 people hijacked an airplane, what's to stop them from hijacking? Not hijacking is not the word, is a car when you stop at a light.
Mm.
So it creates a sense of mistrust. Every year on 9/11, they had the memorial. I went down, I think 3 years later, to the actual site for the memorial, but I couldn't get onto Ground Zero, but I was nearby it. But I still have yet to go to the museum. I find it a little hard. I went to the outside the memorial park, and I have a picture with me taken with Isaias Rivera was the friend that was in the towers in '93 and was the one who died, and who I spoke to the day that he died. And Robert Patterson was the other guy that died, and he worked in engineering with us.
Okay.
So I have a hard time, every time I think about it on 9/11, I have a hard time listening to their names.
Yeah, I know a few people have trouble hearing and talking about it as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you, thank you.
Are you still working in TV? In like in
I
the
am,
TV business?
I am. I'm working for Major League Baseball, and I still stayed with TV all these years. So, but I'm not in a news capacity as I was back then. Now I deal with baseball. Then I dealt with a lot of news, and I worked for news for many years.
I'm gonna go back a little bit and ask you about the feed from your news place. Sorry, I just forgot the word. News station.
Okay.
Does from yours being like, was yours the only feed going through, or was there like any side news stations that were feeding like images, or was it just yours?
For the first few hours, it was just us, because like all of the networks removed their antennas from the Empire State Building.
Okay.
So we were the only ones, for whatever reason, I don't know all the politics about it, but we were the only one that left it up as a backup. So when the towers were hit, they all lost their transmission. And they knew we switched over. And I guess the news director, the president of CBS, whoever it was, authorized that anybody and everybody can take the feed from CBS. So for the first 4 hours, I think it was 3 to 4 hours, everybody was using our network, our transmission. They were taking our feed, our live records, everything that we were doing. And then once they were able to figure out and get their cable stations up and going, they switched back to their own feed and did their own stories.
So the whole world was watching from your news station for those, you said about 4 hours. The whole
Yeah.
world was watching off of your guys's feed.
I can't say about the world, but I could say about America. I'm thinking if the world or different parts of different countries around the world were getting it from New York, I'm assuming then they were getting the feed from us as well. But I know that all of America was watching our feed it had to be. All of America had to be watching our feed for the first 3 to 4 hours. Yeah.
That's amazing that yours was like the only one that was able to show it with a backup. I think that's
Right.
kind of smart to have always a backup just in case.
Yes. And that's what all the stations have now learned to do. They all have a backup transmission site. So if something does happen, they always have a backup. And they don't have it in New York now. They have it outside of New York. A lot of them have it in New Jersey.
Mm.
So
How did you like stay focused? This is going back to your work and during that time. How did you stay focused and not like, did you, sorry, just trying to see of a way to word it. how did you not break down and you still kept working?
It was really hard. I have to admit, it was really hard. You have to stay focused. It's like, I think talk therapy was a lot of what was going on that first day. And like anybody that I could talk to, I was talking to, but I needed to, because we still had a job to do. We still had to keep, because everybody was taking our feed, we still had to stay on the air. We still had to make sure that everybody could see what's going on. We couldn't afford to have any major problems. We needed to have the control rooms up and running. I mean, we needed everything focused. So you cry, you press the buttons that you need to press, you do what you need to do. You go into shock, but you still need to do what you need to do. It was really hard, but we did it. We had no choice.
I believe that you were very strong
Thank you.
on that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you another. I think I have about a few more questions. If that's
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Did you by any chance, like, when you went, so this is going back to when you were helping with all the firemen, would you say that, like, so it's like that big heavy of like the cement fog, right? Like that fog area, did that like affect like your breathing? Like did you have to wear a mask, like, or did you have to drink like a bunch of water to help like not get kind of sick from all the like fumes of it? What would you say?
So that's an interesting question, because when I first went down, the masks, they gave us those masks that we're wearing today. You know, those paper masks, they gave us those paper masks. And I remember thinking at the time, I can't be in this for more than 10 minutes. So I took it off, not thinking about the potential health hazards it could have caused. I don't believe I was down there long enough to have health issues. And I don't believe I have health issues from that. But I guess if I would have been down there longer and been going through the rubble, that I probably would have worn a mask more. But they did warn us, they did say to us, well, maybe you should wear the mask so that you don't have any breathing issues down the road. I didn't, I took it, I wore it for a while, and then I took it off.
Okay. So I have another question or kind of thing. So this is relating with my father, since you're good friends with him. So he told me about how you guys went down to with a police escort for like went down to ground zero for about 30 to 50 minutes. Could you
Yes.
tell me about that?
It really hits home when you're standing on the grounds that just got attacked. We were down there about, I guess you said 30 to 50 minutes. We were there a long time. We were there a long time. You know, the two of us were taking different pictures. I think Dad was taking video and I was taking pictures and he's taking pictures. And it's like all of a sudden we're both like looking around and we're like, oh my God, this is what once stood of the Twin Towers, which it was commonly known as the Twin Towers. And I think all of a sudden the reality of the whole situation, just like we both became very somber, because you're looking at the windows, you're looking at the dust all over, you're looking at the people. They even had a statue already set up for the people that have fallen. Not like a real statue, but like they had statues and they had wreaths all over them. And it just became really just so scary, but real, that this could happen right here in our city, in New York, and right around us.
So like since 9/11, that's why now there's security at airports, right?
Yeah,
Just because of that incident,
yeah,
so that that wouldn't happen again. Because and there, I believe there was 4 planes, and one of them hit the Pentagon, correct?
yes, yeah.
And oh, okay, sorry, little
That's
thing
okay.
popped up. One hit the Pentagon, and then one of them landed, I think, in a field
Yeah, so
because
that was Shanksville. That's in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. That was actually, that plane was diverted. So that plane was supposed to go into the Capitol. Either, I think it was either the Capitol or the White House. And the story about that was really, I mean, once the people on board the plane knew what was going on, they attacked. Let me rephrase that. They did not attack. They saved the plane and the Pentagon, not the Pentagon, the Capitol or the White House, because they attacked the hijackers. Thank you. They attacked the hijackers, and they were able to divert the plane, and they knew that they were all going to go down. They knew that they were not going to survive. From what I heard via the grapevine, that there was a consensus of everybody on the plane knowing that they were going to die anyway, that they took a consensus that is it okay that we go in, attack, and get the hijackers out and save what we can? And they all called their families. They told them they love them. And the plane crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
that's heroes, but they hopefully, I wish that somebody could survive to tell what happened within, you know.
Yeah. For us as people that did not physically go through the actual planes and everything, it would be awesome to know a person who walked off of that and was able to survive that. But
Right.
that, yeah.
Yeah. I just have, I think, like 2 more questions. That's okay.
Yeah, of course.
I know that people from 9/11 and like the people that went in right into were like they're like I watched this documentary, I guess, where these firefighters were in the building of Tower 1, and they survived. Did you see a lot of people hurt? I know that's kind of not a great question to ask, but
No, but it's a fair question. I didn't physically see people hurt, but I did see them on screen, and I did read the stories. My own cousin, I told you, actually his story was also very interesting. He was in the second tower that got hit, but that was also the first tower that went down. So when the first tower got hit, he ran out, and security told him to no, go back in and it's fine. And he said, there's no way I'm staying here. And he got out, and he ran out when the second tower got hit. So he was telling me that when the towers went down, he hid behind a couple of cars as the dust was coming in. A pummel of smoke was coming, like sort of like a hurricane or a tornado coming at him, and everybody just dropped down on the ground, just to not get swept up or suffocated by the smoke, by the concrete dust. But I'll also say there were beautiful stories that came out. Like there was a story of a man who was in a wheelchair, and he couldn't get down. Obviously, the elevators weren't working. So 4 of his coworkers literally carried him down, like I think 20 flights of stairs, just to get him out safely. You know, people were helping each other. And then I unfortunately heard of another story of a man who couldn't get down, and his coworker stayed with him and died with him. So people were hurt, people were in shock, people were crying. I think emotions ran ran crazy that day. It was emotions ran crazy.
I wanted to thank you for going on this interview for my oral history project and telling me your story. And I know that it was probably really tough for you to say it because from the way you're saying it, I know it's tough. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you for wanting to hear the story. You know, it's been a while. It's been 20 years, but thank you for wanting to hear it and to giving me the memory of that day so that I never forget what happened.
So thank you. And I think this will be the end of the recording. So I'm gonna stop the recording
Okay.
and